Okay, so today I'm going to be swapping out the bolts on the standard Brompton brake caliper with titanium ones. And this is just a set I bought off AliExpress. I'll throw up the price here. And then for tools, you'll just need like any regular multi-tool and like a crescent wrench. I'm just changing the bolt set on the rear because I only need the rear for my current setup. These are the front bolts. It's 27.7 grams. Okay, so just as a comparison, I've tried these Litepro ones, which are lighter than the standard Brompton ones. I found the braking power on these not as good as the stock Bromptons, but not too bad. Like, I've definitely tried worse third-party ones. So just to compare, the Brompton without the brake shoe and those bolts is 146.2. And then the Litepro is 122. So I'm curious if changing out these bolts will make this just as light as the Litepro. And if that's the situation, you might as well just do the titanium bolt upgrades. The bolts themselves shouldn't affect the braking performance because we're just talking about rigidity of the brake caliper itself. I'll do a comparison between all three brake calipers. So the standard Brompton ones, the Litepro ones, and the Thx4Ride ones later on in the video. So yeah, gonna put the titanium bolts on this. I'll just set aside the brake shoes for a bit. I just want to install those bolts and then weigh the difference. So these two bolts also go on the brake shoe. Yeah, just for an apples to apples comparison to other calipers, because you can always get lighter brake shoes as well. So I actually haven't done this before, but again, it's not really that complicated. So let's just start. Then this one should hold the front arm on. And yeah, another reason to change these out is that in recent batches, or maybe they've changed it in the last year or two, I haven't followed up, the bolts on these black calipers tend to rust. There goes that. So this bolt here has a spacer, which I need to transfer over. Just gonna put this on before I forget. And I'll put this one away. Okay, I've got to loosen this. So this nut seems to keep the spring on. It's always a bit confusing with these springs because they kind of push the part into place, and then yeah, when it comes back together, you have to watch out where they all go. Removed this bolt here, so this will be replaced as well. So they've got one here. I'm gonna put this aside as well. Okay, so remove this bolt. It's gonna be replaced with this one. And there is a set screw here. Looks like they have a bit of Loctite on here. Thread locker, which I will put on as well. Okay, these two bolts were for the brake shoe. I'm just gonna put these aside as well. So they didn't come with a replacement spring, which I guess makes sense because steel and titanium have different flex. I think that's everything. Let me just grab some thread locker. Okay, let's keep going. So where was I? I took out this set screw. This is a huge bottle of thread locker. So this set screw sets the position of the, I guess, the width of the calipers. Let me weigh the steel bolts. I made a bit of narration error here. So initially I weighed the bolts before, it was 27.7, but that included the brake shoe bolt. Subtracted those, so the equivalent titanium bolts is 18.6 grams. So that's 20.9 grams saved on this caliper, and it'd be roughly the same on the front caliper. Okay, where was I? This, gonna put this back on here. No, it looks like it's got a bushing. This one wasn't lubricated, so probably no lubrication required. It's a bit tight. Oh, it's a nice fit actually. That's right. So this goes on here. Screw it on from this side. So this will still spin. Okay, then this little nut goes on. So this nut holds this spring down, so I guess you kind of want to put this in first. This little bend goes into here, and then this will push up against this white bushing thing here. So let's tighten this. This is what gives it the spring back power. Okay, and then the next is there's this little metal pad here, and that goes up against the set screw. So when you screw in the set screw, it'll make the pads come closer. Okay, so you kind of need to push this down a bit to get this to the bolt to kind of align in here. So I'm wondering, I guess I can tighten this. Okay, so going back, it'll be easier if you just remove the spring first and put the spring back in after this part, because that kind of makes it so that you have to compress the spring in order to fit this in. This little washer goes this way, screws into here. Oops. Oh, see, I put it in wrong. You gotta make sure that the little pad here is underneath here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, make sure the pad is underneath the set screw. And then tighten, make sure everything kind of moves properly. So yeah, that's kind of what the brake's supposed to look like. And now let's put the spring back in. Okay, maybe the best way to do this is to have the spring disengaged. Put it in the channel here. Tighten it up. You might want to put a bit of Loctite on that long bolt as well. But for my build, I just used a nylock nut, which does kind of the same thing. Okay, so now I need to bend the spring to go into here. Okay, this is an easier way to do it. There we go. Okay. Okay, we need to put this bolt in. Washer. Oh, and don't forget this nut here. Okay, not too tight. Okay, let's see how much this weighs. And now it is 125.2. So yeah, 20 grams saved. 125.2. This is the Litepro. Still a bit lighter, 121.9. But yeah, this one, I feel like it doesn't break as well. And I think it has to do with the rigidity of the metal. These are stock brake shoes. I guess I'll remove these little tiny screws just for the sake of completeness. Yeah, so these are the old parts. 17.1 grams. And then these are the titanium pieces. 9 grams. 8 grams saved on one pair of brake shoes. The savings here aren't huge, but it's also good for aesthetic reasons, I guess, because the old ones tended to rust. These are in quite good condition. They must have come off a new bike. I think I bought these from someone who was upgrading. But okay, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so these are the existing brakes I have, and I had these brakes in Japan. Yeah, they're not great. I recently also changed the brake cabling, so I knew that I wanted to change these brake calipers out, so I didn't cut this, which is why it's still here. But yeah, now I will take these off. So I removed this brake caliper, which is super light. I'll just remove the brake shoes again and give it a weigh in. Yeah, these are Swiss top brake pads. I might just use the same pads here. They look okay. So let's just take a look at how much they weigh. 82.9 grams versus 125.2 with the titanium bolts. So this is a lot lighter, but I'll show you what I mean with the flex. So okay, this is one of the arms here. So look at how much this flexes. Because this is almost just like a very thin piece of stamped metal almost, versus this, which is a big chunk of aluminium. Yeah, that's pretty much, this arm is equivalent to this one, and this is like huge and chunky. Yeah, like look at that flex versus this one. Like, let me try to apply the same force. Like, yeah, it's completely, it's like a huge difference. And then this is a Litepro. Yeah, this is even more rigid than this one. So yeah, there's definitely weight trade-offs. So I think the EE brakes are very light as well, probably similar to these ones. So I'm curious how flexible they are, because I've heard that the braking performance is actually on par with the Brompton ones, or a bit better. But I don't know if that's just because they sunk so much money into their calipers that they don't want to say otherwise, or what. And then yeah, I guess there's also knockoff EE brakes, which I might try in the future, just to see how they compare in terms of rigidity. Yeah, which brake shoe should I go with? That's the other question, I guess. So you have to reuse these rounded aluminum shim bits, and this goes here. Sorry, it's out of camera. So yeah, this doesn't get replaced in the kit, at least the kit that I bought. And then this kind of just screws into here. Well, obviously you put this on the brake shoe there, or the brake caliper. So this has a kind of a concave bottom to fit with this contour here, and that just lets you pivot the brakes and tightening it down correctly. And then these little screws go here to make sure the pads don't slip out. These also need a bit of Loctite so they don't back out on you. Okay, let's do a comparison here. These 33.6 versus, oh shoot, 36.6 versus 27.7. It's almost 10 grams difference in these two brake shoes. It's not apples to apples because these are different pads. Yeah, I don't know which I'll go with. They both are used. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna put these on. That means I have another Brompton part on my Brompknot. Slowly being converted back into a Brompton, I think. While I'm installing these, I'll just show you how to quickly adjust brakes. So you kind of got to clamp them together to see where the pads will sit. Make sure it's on the rim. Sorry, I don't have this wired up yet. It's not rubbing against the tire because, again, a lot of issues is this brake shoe gets misaligned like this or something, and then it'll just rub against the tire and cause those sidewall issues. So yeah, this can be tilted like this. It can also be tilted this way. Actually, best not to grab it by the brake shoe like what I was doing here, and avoid touching the braking surface because your skin oil will contaminate the braking surface. That's not good. You just gotta loosen it, tighten it, and then like grab it like this. Or it might be easier if you have a second person to activate the brakes for you when the cable's connected. A lot easier when you don't have a camera in your hand. Show how the set screw works when you're tuning the brakes. So it helps keep the brakes centered and makes it so you don't need as much lever pull to activate the brakes. So righty-tighty, which brings the set screw in, and it will bring the shoe closer. You see that? So once you have the brakes tightened, this will help you kind of have it centered as well. Let's show this again. Yeah, it just brings it marginally closer bit by bit. So to recap, a pair of Brompton brake calipers weighs around 380 grams for the pair, and that includes the stock brake pads and brake shoes. And the titanium bolt kit saves around 58 grams. So the net weight on the upgraded calipers is 322 grams, and that's with the stock brake shoes, so you could upgrade to something lighter. You can kind of use this to compare like what buying a set of lighter calipers costs and the potential like reduced braking performance. So I think the titanium bolt set is like a pretty nice upgrade for the standard Brompton brakes, and that's probably as much as most people will need in terms of weight savings and I guess aesthetic reasons to remove those rusty bolts. You can probably save another 30 grams or so with lighter brake shoes. The ones I used came with another set of brake calipers, so I don't have a link for them, but if you just search ultralight
brake shoes, you'll probably find something on AliExpress or Amazon or wherever. This is the AliExpress product listing for the bolt upgrade that I use. There's two package options. Package A includes some additional bolts for the stem hinge bolt, as well as the suspension block, and a few other smaller bolts. And time for the weekly recap. I did some gear repair.
The bag frame that I use doesn't have a bottom support, so the bag can sag. It only really sags if the bag is unloaded, and then it just, yeah, the front just kind of comes down too much. And yeah, unfortunately, I wore a hole through here, so I'm just gonna do a quick repair. I just went back and forth a bit with string. I'm gonna put a layer of tenacious gear tape, or just gear repair tape, to just prevent any fraying. Same with the liner inside. And I need to choose a patch. It's a bit big, but I think the B kind of fits perfectly. But then there's the green frog.
I sewed the patch on, and it was pretty satisfying and quick repair. Next job was preparing my closet for the new 3D printer. It's got an outlet in there, so it's kind of the perfect space for it, and it's kind of out of the way of everything else in the living room.
So I installed some shock isolating / absorbing feet. This is pretty heavy, and then I'm going to put a few more weighted things to kind of dampen the vibration from transferring into the wall. Hopefully, anyways. This project was an excuse to use up some spare building materials. So this was some offcuts of slate tiles, and 3D printed a lot of brackets for the shelves and underslung drawers. Still a lot of junk to clear out. Also melted down some scrap material. I'm on an electrical tear for on some days. There's too much solar or something in the power grid, and they'll pay you to use electricity. So I save up my scrap to melt down during those days. Still not sure what I'm going to do with all this, but I'll think of something eventually. Also attended this event featuring new UK graduate designers and some very cool stuff. This week was mostly textiles, and next week it'll have furniture and other industrial stuff, which I'll probably go see as well. Good way to get some cross-disciplinary inspiration, and visited Japan House to do the same. Their event featuring Japanese woodworking was amazing. I just caught the tail end of it. And my Saturday project was making this folded Brompton LED sign to go with my, I guess, front light that I've used previously in night rides. I plan to use it in the Dulwich Dynamo next week. The Dulwich Dynamo is a 200-kilometer overnight ride starting in London, and I'm also going to camp for 2 nights afterwards. So maybe the next video I make will be just a summary of the gear I'll be taking on that ride. And that's it for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get notifications on the next video.